Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday, May 9th. It's part number 2 of daily number 461. I'm 100% sure that that is the daily number. It's time to learn to be a better gamer. We're actually only 10 minutes into this game after part 1. And that largely is because I wanted to take the time to spend the reasoning around when we start things versus when things happen for our opponent. 12 minutes, that's when he is likely to be getting his big-ass roach force up. That's something that I should just know by watching a lot of games. Which means that my Colossus, that takes about a minute, if I start it right now, I'll have one out by about 11. Cool, I could probably have 2 Colossi out by that big roach force. Ha 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 ha. However, whenever we do something like get this Warp Prism Harass, it delays the amount of Colossus that we get by a minute. And the reason that's so important is it's really easy, as maybe someone who watches a lot of tournaments, maybe you only get to play a couple of games a week because you're in school. You don't have to worry about that shit anymore because final exams are over, baby! Boom! And now that you have free time, what you'll start to feel is that whenever you do some sort of harass like Warp Prism, or do something cute like try to warp into his base, if you're losing a minute here, a minute there, doing this harass and that harass and that harass, suddenly, where you once had 3 Colossus to defend a bunch of roaches, you now have no Colossi with which to defend the roaches. So, we now see White Raw doing this. And this is why whenever you see me in, if I'm doing commentary for some tournament, you'll see me go, you know what, okay, it looks like he's going to Warp Prism. He's going to need to do a lot of damage. I'm not actually just saying that to try to falsely build tension. I do know that there are commentators in other games who've been known to do that, where it's like a college football game where it's like 70-0 with 10 minutes left, and it's like, wow, I mean, the other team must be feeling a lot of pressure right now. No, they've given up. They hate their lives. They want to be off national television as fast as possible. We don't want to do that. When I say, ooh, he's going to have to do a lot of damage, it's all relating back to those minutes that we're losing getting up these Warp Prisms. So this little push thing I think is pretty awesome. We still don't know if our opponent is going for max roaches or something other than that. If he's going for infestors really quickly, he can't attack soon at all, so we're at the very least happy. If he's going for mutalisks, 14 minutes is the number I want you to pop out into your head. 14 minutes if he's going for 3 base. Because the Spire still has another minute left, so that'll be around 12 minutes. And then, when he ends up popping out his Mutalisk, it's about another 30 seconds to a minute-ish. And then it takes a little while for it to get to your base. So it's about 14, especially if you're applying pressure. So it looks like White Raw is doing indeed some awesome stuff. And let's actually just count the time. This attack started to move out at around 10:30. If it has everything peeled back into the main base at 11:30, this Warp Prism has gained its weight back in terms of time. So literally, parking here, I love parking here because I'm just thinking, man, that guy really wants to defend this. And yeah, it looks like it may have indeed bought itself a little bit more time. And it looks like LiquidTLO getting himself a lot of Mutalisks. These are unusually fast Mutalisks. This is something that, again, I said 14 minutes because, indeed, 14 tends to be about when they end up getting it. But, if this ends up happening a lot more, where players have discovered that they're super, ultra, crazy safe, and start being able to get away with 12-minute Mutalisks, then I'd probably adjust. I'd actually probably stop and say that my self-analysis barometer is a little bit off, because I'm thinking if I opened up and went that 14-minute... No, okay, so I want to stop for a moment. 14 minutes is something that's been floating around in my head, and I have seen in practice a lot, and just noted in the GSL, but in this case it's clearly wrong. What's with that? Well, this is in situations where Protoss are doing big gateway pressures, doing big pressures with the Robo, doing Void Ray Phoenix pressure. In all these circumstances, the Zerg is kind of like, whoa, hey, whoa, holding stuff off. It has to delay those geysers a little bit because of all the pressure we're applying. And that apparently gains about 2 minutes of time. In this circumstance, White Raw did no pressure at all at the start. Literally not any attacking. So TLO just did that straight tech. And hell, maybe the Zergs I've been watching are awful. Maybe it's possible to always tech at 12 minutes, but I'm feeling a little doubtful of it. I mean, hell, one of the reasons why I bring up that 14-minute mark thing is that 14 minutes is generally when we're going to experience it. But here we're experiencing it 12. Oh no, that's terrible, right? Well, not as terrible because we're motherfucking White Raw and we took a fast third. So bring on the fast Mutalisk. I don't care. I have Blink coming and I'm a man. And on my website, let me just show you White Raw's website. This is totally irrelevant. But look at White Raw, his website. Yeah. Officialwhiteraw.com. Yeah, random gallery. Sometimes when you refresh and you get some random photo, in this random photo gallery, it's White Raw with a bunch of ladies. And you're like, oh, White Raw, you total pimp-ass badass. Look at you, just inadvertently random photo gathering you with a bunch of hot ladies. While being married, oh, you Ukrainian stallion. I'm not sure how analysis digressed to that, but I'm fine with it. Let's go ahead and hop back into the game. Excellent. So we are now at somewhat of an impasse. We are up against a player who's going for Mutalisk, and we have taken our third, and we're going to have to go for Blink en masse. Here comes the good old Game of Drones style Mutalisk pack coming in. I'd also like to laud TLO's play for a moment. He gets the really ridiculously fast Infestation Pit and the Spire, and then he just builds 11 mutas and instantly gets a hive up. That's a slick play. This is going to force the Protoss to be really defensive, because if I'm Protoss, there's no way I can know that you are actually going to be able to get the hive that fast, with the exception, of course, of the Warp Prism that was in there a moment ago. But almost always the Protoss is going to be fearful of some sort of secondary follow-up big attack, and has to do this defensive stuff. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant if we are expanding all on opposite corners of the map. If White Raw attacks this, then we just counter his main base. The top left is just a bait expansion. Well, bait's probably the wrong word. It's not like we want it to die, but if we get attacked there, we just intend on counterattacking. Weirdly, not a lot of Zergs do this. I'm not talking about the creep highway. I'm talking about the just wall of overlords for the vision completion. And now we have a complete solid wall, and we can just expand on opposite corners of the map. And if I had to pick one person as the clear favorite at this point in time, I would definitely choose TLO. Like, far and away. I think he's in a much better position. The only way I'd probably end up going with White Raw is if he properly identified at this moment that, oh yeah, there's not actually that many Mutalisks out on the field anymore. His Mutalisk count is getting kind of low, and just went for a huge attack. Oh god, that was a nice snipe. But even then, I'm kind of feeling a little bit And here's a bit of advice you probably don't hear me give a lot, but I still totally agree is true. If I'm in this position as Protoss, most of the time what I want to do is try to take a fourth. I'm always talking about taking attack and expand at the same time. In this position, though, I actually think that it is absolutely correct to stop making probes. You should stop at 69 probes, because if it works, good, and if it doesn't, you're still awesome and funny and clever and juvenile. But again, stop probes, and then build 3 or 4 more gateways and just blast them on 11, 12 gateways. Right now it looks like we have 9. We'd probably want to get 11, 12 making Stalkers and just churn out Colossi and go for it. Because there's no good place to expand at this point that isn't really close to your opponent. So you're going to have to start dealing damage to him in order to keep that expo safe. I mean, we're either going to expand this vulnerable place at the left, or this even more vulnerable place down south, but looks like White Raw hit it right at the money time. This is actually probably the only timing that White Raw could have done, and that was some pretty sickeningly good identification for White Raw. It probably would have worked better if we hadn't flown our Mutalisk back there. But even in this position, I actually don't think TLO's screwed. Because White Raw has to commit really, really hard. Really hard. And if TLO just holds this one single attack, he's in good shape. Listen, you guys, TLO's dead. He's super dead. He lost. He lost that game. Ugh. Yuck. Grody, gross, icky bins. I want to come back to that big key moment and find out kind of what went wrong. Right here. I will say these final battles are always kind of weird and annoying. I mean, I don't know. I'm actually curious. Did anyone watch Sasa's stream last night? I was watching that. I was watching the shit out of it. So good. There were probably 3 or 4 games in a row where Sasa got his huge death force, waltzed in, killed off the main, killed off the natural, couldn't kill off the third, and then the Zerg finally held the attack off, and Sasa just didn't quite have enough steam. Sasa was kind of in a little bit of a spot trying to get his 4th up. There was even this amazing vortex with like 40 Banelings rolling on in that backfired. So from the Protoss standpoint, these sorts of attacks, if they work, it just looks like, oh yeah, totally held off the Death Force. I think that may have been a mildly premature GG. I don't think it's clearly a spot where he shouldn't have called good game, and it's totally reasonable to be like, yeah, I'm pretty much dead. I'm just going to leave and do another game in this friendly show match. But let's see here. What could our Zergy buddy TLO have done? For one, I'd probably almost always morph the Broodlords up here. Having them out here, no. Maybe having them in the Spine Crawlers is a good decision. I guess what I'm trying to do right now is look and say, is there something that TLO could have done within the minute window of this going on? Or is there something he should have done differently leading up to it? I mean, obviously things are looking really, really good. I might say that just these 4 Spine Crawlers might be a little bit of an error. Doing just this mixture and having all these spines planted at the front. Even if one of these hatches isn't constructed and we can plant 3 more spines at the front, it might be as simple as that, but let's go ahead and rewatch it. This is something that I pretty much have always done with all my replays of all time. Just go to this key moment where obviously all the big action ended up going down. Try to see if there's something that could have gone differently at the key moment. Yeah, you know, having these vulnerable Broodlords is just a little bit yucky. And you know, okay, so here's a thought that I'm having right here as well. Right here, where your temptation is to just poop out a whole bunch of Broodlords. Stefano does this cool thing where instead of getting the Broodlords fast, he first builds a lot of spines and infestors, and then gets like 20 corruptors. So that way he can run out and pick off the Colossi and then just run right back. And then, once the Colossi count is sufficiently low, and he has enough gas to build like 10 Broodlords at once, that's when he builds all the 10 Broodlords. But this is, as I've looked at it again a couple of times, TLO was actually in not the closest position when this was going down. In that unit's lost, it looks like the Mutalisk did go down. So of course, if I look at the key moment and think to myself, yeah, it looks like we probably couldn't have adjusted stuff too much, it's got to end up coming down at, I don't think 4 or 5 Broodlords would have changed that outcome either. I think that he would have been able to run right over it. But I feel like it was with these Mutalisks, like doing this sort of thing. How many drones do we end up having at that point? Yeah, it's when this thing happened, where we got our Mutalisk back here, where it's kind of like, oh, damn it. I don't ever like trapping my Mutas. Because, hell, even if we have 12 Mutalisks, whenever Whiterot tries to move out, we rush in with all our Mutalisks and buy ourselves an extra 30 seconds, an extra minute, and then we're in a much better condition up here. But here, without imposing any delay at all. It was this, yeah, when all this happened. I mean, geez, if we just delay till 17:30, I think we're fine. Yeah. I guess that would be my concluding stamp on the box statement. That I really think that TLO was probably about a minute out from being in Unstoppable Doomforce mode, and White Raw really found like the only timing possible where he could have done the real bone crushing, and he crushed bones well. So in the future, I would either say to delay the Broodlords and just leave more Corruptors up, so that way we have a Spine, Corruptor, Infestor force. And wait till we have a lot more Corruptors. Alternatively, the keeping those Mutalisks alive at the start to buy us another minute. So StarCraft 2 is a game of minutes, but I like always trying to find where those minutes lie, instead of saying if he only had another minute, because that's always easy to do. You know, if only I had $1 million more, it'd be so great. It's how you end up doing that. If only he'd use those Mutalisks to buy another more minute. His Spire also got killed off, and I don't think it was particularly relevant. Yeah, I don't really feel like it was that. It didn't really have that much of an impact. TLO was only really ever going to make a handful of Mutalisks and then go straight to Spire. So once he'd spent that initial gas on the handful, he wanted to save all his gas for Broodlords. It may have delayed his Broodlords by like 20 or 30 seconds, but getting the Broodlords 20 or 30 seconds faster would have meant 3 more Broodlords in that attack, and whoop-de-doo, White Raw still would have rolled it. So let's go ahead and take a number, pick a number between 1 and 7 that isn't 6. I'm seeing 7s and 2s. An integer. Please choose a positive integer. A positive real integer between 1 and 7. That is not 6. It looks like 2 is our selection. 2 is going to be our selection. So we'll hop into it. It's the game on Antigua Shipyards between TLO and White Raw. Come on, camera transition, work with me. Gonna have to do it a little bit faster. Oh, is it ladder version? Oh, juicy golds, juicy, juicy. All right, the front. Note that to properly wall off the front versus early emergencies, you will indeed need pylon numero dos. Pylon number 2. I hate having pylons as part of my wall offs. I hate it. Let's see, game of drones. What did we say at the start of last game? The most important aspect to any map is how do I get my third base up? Shaka pow! There's my third. It's easy to get. I don't have to do anything kooky. I don't have to say 11 pool like I did in the last game to kill off rocks. I simply expand, and then I take the third base. Nice! Excellent. Fantastic. If White Raw is like any Protoss, I would literally say 95% of Protosses do early expand, then do some play, and then take a third base around 10 or 11 minutes. Like a staggeringly high percentage on this map. Like, I'm going to go air, and then get 3 gates, and expand. I'm going to go Blink Stalker with 5 gates, with Stalkers and Sentries. I'm going to expand. I'm just going to go Robo expand. Or if you're Kiwikaki, you just expand, right? You just go expand, gate, expand, right? That's also a White Raw mode. Yeah, seriously. Almost every Protoss has taken this expansion before 12 minutes. Oh, God, that analysis was so boring. Also, why might this be okay to do? I thought cannon rushing was a big concern. It is. But notice how the mineral arrangement on this map means that you have to spend a lot of money to wall this off. You have to go like pylon, 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 cannon. And that's already a big sunk cost. And TLO can just cancel the hatch, go here. Or you know what's worse? Cancel the hatch and then take the gold. And you're a Protoss who hasn't taken his natural, just has a forge, has a bunch of cannons behind the minerals that aren't going to do anything. Increasingly, players like Lenok are just straight hatching right off the bat. But it looks like White Raw has balls made of Ukrainian steel. He's actually going... Wow. I'm going to rewind this. I'm going to rewind. I actually saw this on White Raw's stream on a game on Ohana. So, here's the moment where you are Protoss. You have seen your opponent do this. What the hell, right? What the hell? 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 Why is he doing this? This is one of these things that I think happens when the metagame has become somewhat well developed. Screw the word metagame, I hate that word. When trends and understanding of the game have developed to the point where I'd almost call them standard lines, like what you'd use in a chess opening, like a standard line. I'm getting distracted. I'm actually going to minimize the chat so I can focus. Haha. There's like standard lines, like you have to get your pool, and then you have to get the hatch. You can't go hatch and then pool, because you'll get cannon rush. This is kind of the logic that most people use. And then all of a sudden you're up against a player who is going for the hatch first. But he's not supposed to do that. This is where most Protosses erroneously try to emergency cannon rush, overcommit, and then they get a cancel and the Zerg relocates. But this is a really clever response that White Raw did. First, he's going to go 17 Nexus, very late Nexus, then 17 Pylon to keep up probe production. This looks absolutely insane, but White Raw is then going to go for as fast a gateway as he can. Often you'll see him go for 2 gateways here. Such a smart opening. One of the smartest things that I have ever seen. Because look at TLO's timing. He's going to finish his pool at 4 minutes. And yes, I am rounding up. He's going to get his queens. He could maybe get some Zerglings. But those Zerglings are going to get here at what? 4:45? 5 minutes? Takes a while to get out. I mean, they take 24 seconds on their own. And now we have White Raw already getting his core up. Already having 2 Nexuses churning out probes. Has avoided spending 150 on a forge and 150 on a cannon. And is just getting those units out right away. Look at this. Look at how brilliant this is. I love this answer. So smart. And this will also make the Zerg player feel really hesitant about throwing down a super fast third. Because we obviously have no gas yet as Zerg. If we did have gas, we'd be sacrificing the opportunity to take our third. And there it is. White Raw has successfully denied/delayed the third. So good. Often opening like this, I don't like going for Stargate. I'd much prefer something just more typical, building sentries and then following it up with a Robo. I just think that pushing direct at the front is really good. You can do a really solid follow-up if you just get the Robo right away. If you get the Robo right away, you'll end up getting the Robo at around 6:15, and then you can get out 3 Immortals and do a big push with 3 Immortals, an Observer, and a bunch of Gateways by 9:30. It's a really killer push. Sasa was doing it a lot last night with a more normal Forge opening. So good, so good. And we see White Raw going for the double Stargate. You know, one of the reasons I don't like this, and I wonder if this is going to... I wonder if this is going to happen. I wonder if this is going to happen. When you go for Stargate like this, it's really hard to get the basic defense you need at the front. Even just a cannon or 2 just works very well with the Stargate, because you just need to have some ground defense at the front. Would not be surprised to see a big bust happen at the front while the Stargate stuff is happening. And look at that Stalker pinning down that turd base. And good old TLO getting delayed by quite a lot. Boy, Rod just expanded himself out. Wow, look at that. Going for air upgrades. I guess this is okay if you want to go carrier. I guess that's alright if you want to go carrier, but I probably should have considered that, because White Raw always seems to go carrier. But yeah, with Void Rays, I mean, if he went hatch right at the start, he's going to have like a lot of drones. He's probably going to have a good count of queens. I don't... I'm just not feeling like it'll really do the killer amount of damage that we need. I don't mind doing this if we just rushed for a Cybernetics core and blasted out the Stargates, but But yeah. And meanwhile, outside, my roommates play Rock Band loudly. So, White Rod doing some nice control trickaroos. Looks like he got appropriately defended. That's the queen count that I was talking about a little bit earlier on. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this. Whenever you do go for the 2 Stargate play, almost always you must get, where is it? Yeah, Fast Robo Bay. Your opponent will be responding in basically one of 3 ways. The least common of which is Ultra Fast Corruptor. Oh wow, we're still on part 2. Screw that, we need to take a break. There are 3 ways to defend against big mass air. Getting a Spire and going for a whole bunch of Corruptors. That's becoming a little more popular now, but it's still kind of slow. But mainly, going Hydras, going for Infestors. Gonna go to part 3 because I need to eat dinner after this. Haha, haha, day 9, you take so long to do your dailies. I lost track of time. Do 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 do.